hope you guys read the disclaimer. Now here we are. Let's start off with a bit of dollar for now. Alright, so price had gapped a little bit on euro. So I'm probably gonna see that in about 15 minutes for dollar. It's coming back lower, back into the range. Let's check the 4 hour. You can see how we may want to see it come lower down into here. Reason why I say that is because this is the daily wick. We want to see it respecting that. We don't want it going more than that, likely into there, because that's the consequent encroachment of this balanced price range. So we'd like to see it respect that, not go below there. If we want to start seeing movement back up, it's respected this gap so many times, but it's not really a good thing. If it was wanting to go lower, it would do so after a couple wicks, but it's taken its time going up there, potentially incentivizing sellers that it's safe to do so, and then so why do we think that? Well, like I said, on the longer term, if we use this as the change of character, so as soon as it broke that, this turned into an order block. Boom, broke the high, so we're using the range of where it changed from bearish to bullish, to where it broke structure. We're using that range to identify how far it can retrace, potentially into the 0.5 level. As you can see, it's done so perfectly. So ideally we want it to start moving higher from here. Another reason as to why as well is because on the monthly, you can see that these three candles over here make up this order block. So this will be the top of that order block, and it's respecting it on the monthly. Over here as well as the 3 month, so we'd want the 3 month, so this month and next month, to start heading higher, get out of this range, and yeah, proceed to move higher. Yeah, that is what we are predicting for euro dollar. So the reason being, obviously, is going to be opposite to dollar. So you can see here on the monthly, we're using this candle right here, purely because this one, depending on what broker you use, it can show as bullish or bearish. So would rather just use this, the opening, close. Yeah, you can see that it closed lower than it opened, so technically this should be bearish, but because it overall closed above this candle, it's showing as a bullish candle. So we'll use this because this is the highest bullish candle, and then if we use the low, you can see that it's went to 0.5 level, and it's respected this whole thing as the order block. So we'd want it to start racing lower, where we'd want it to reach here eventually, but it doesn't have to be this month. Ideally we are looking for it to reach there, but we can look for this level first. It will be the 3 month. No, it will be the 6 month fair value gap. So we'd want it to reach here, start breaking lower. Hasn't reached there yet, so it's got potential to start going down to there. But yeah, in these next 2 months, we want it to go below this low and start heading towards here if we want to see this get raided by this year. That's the ideal bias that we're holding on to, purely because accumulation, manipulation into the order block and distributing lower. This is the original consolidation, accumulation, manipulation, distribution, and then potential redistribution into the actual original consolidation on the higher time frame. So that is what we are basing our biases off. Now, on the daily, it does just look like a mess right here, but there are a few distinct points that we can take away from here. Firstly, the fact that on the daily it respected this level, the fair value gap, it respected the low of this candle. Not only that, it respected the 0.5 level, as well as on the weekly, it closing below here. So it's all a good sign for it to go bearish. We'll show how it's done the same thing here as well. You can see closed above this high. So it's staying in there, staying in there. So would ideally start seeing movement lower. Best thing now would be on the daily, reaching a maximum of up to the consequent encroachment of this wick, which would be, we don't want it to go all the way there though. Potentially want it to go there, not past that, potentially come up into there. On the hour, that will look like coming back into this range using this order block, using this propulsion block here, potentially the consequent encroachment of this wick, as it will be aligned with this order block, and then it start moving lower. If we look over here on the same time frame, that's what we're looking for here. So it's opened above, so potentially going to come down to there, and then it's heading its way lower. Well, it's making its way lower, so we'll potentially see it respect that, and if it does, we'll look to start entering there, depending on when it does that. So hopefully it does it for tomorrow morning, ranging here and then dropping low for the morning after 2 a.m. It could do that straight after 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, depending on how it goes. So if it drops lower, goes into there, we'll potentially start to look for buys until it reaches those levels and those levels. Why? This is the point where I would ideally want it to reverse from. It's got equal highs, pretty much rough equal highs here. Yeah, it disrespected this, but it respected it on the dollar, so we'll have to wait and see. Let's look at pound dollar respecting that daily fair value gap. Let's look at the monthly. On the monthly, it would be something like that, that. The thing with it's took that low, started reaching for the high. Has it taken the high? Yes, it has. It has taken the high. So because it has went into optimum trade entry one last time, it will potentially look to seek first standard deviation, which is above these equal highs. So it's going to want to move there fast, which will explain the reason as to not wanting to go all the way down there. Let's look at the 3-month. Yeah, you can see here, wouldn't want to get up into there. It's potentially going to leave that open, so if it creates one in the next 2 months, well, this month and then the next month in June, it's potentially want to go higher. Then for the next 3-month candle, go lower, wick into there, and then start to move up higher while leaving this open, and then looking for here. So that's what we are predicting for pound, dollar, and euro. Let's now focus on what days we should be looking at. So let's look at the news. Monday, there isn't much news. Tuesday, there's CAD CPI, nothing for USD, major news anyway. Wednesday, we've got pound CPI. Thursday, we've got pound news, euro news. We've got USD news at 9:45 Eastern Standard. And then Friday, so realistically the only day with US news is on Thursday. So we'd have to wait for decent movement on Thursday. Let's look at here. So if we see euro and pound news, we've got it Tuesday. No, we don't have it Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, GBP news. Thursday, we've got euro. Yeah, so it's mainly GBP. In that case, got to be a bit skeptical. Because there's not much news. If we do see rejection off of these levels, respecting this level on a 4-hour, respecting this and starting to move up higher, past here, if it closes above here, we're definitely going to take this. I'm going to look into this fair value gap here. We'll move this along now. So ideally creating a high, this is the ideal scenario, creating a high here, then optimum trade entry around here, potentially where this order block will be if it broke it, here, take out the low by the grey area. Let's see where it can go on the daily, potentially into that fair value gap, for that grey area, the light grey. And then once it reaches there, optimum trade entry again, potentially here on the Wednesday, which will create the best opportunity. If it goes lower, retraces up, use this as an inverted fair value gap for the Thursday, to then take it lower, potentially below them, and then into there, ready for prime minute for the week after this. That's probably going to be some decent news. Yeah, there's quite a bit of news. So that makes sense, creating equal lows for this week. Well, relative equal lows, ready for the week after to take those after it goes up a bit. So yeah, those that's the current predictions. If yeah, let's just look at a bit of ES on the daily. On the daily, we've been saying for a while that once it had to look for it to go up into there, it has done so. And then look at these. If you haven't, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the previous lives. We'll be there. Here you can see as well, taking out that, coming back up here. Same with these, running up to here. Let's look at the monthly. You can see coming up into there. Here it is went above. So now potentially, if it continues higher, we'll potentially see it take out them first. If it closes the month past here, we'll potentially see it come up into there before wanting to go lower into there, as this will become a balanced price range. Now let's look at here. Yeah, same thing here. It's potentially going to range a bit in here, but yeah, those are the current predictions. Once it has done its thing here, we'll see what it wants to do for the rest of the month. However, on this week, potentially want to go up into there and then range within this fair value gap. Potentially go lower into there or even lower into there. This is an order block, created that gap there, so we're going to use this instead of these two. Here, same thing here. It's got a chance for it to make its way lower before taking out those, but that depends on what the week does. If it starts to move up higher from the get-go, we need to see, does it want to respect this level? But yeah, I think it is opening lower, so should be a good sign. Yeah. Let's look at the 3 month. Yeah, it looks bullish overall, so yeah, bias right from going there, carrying on going higher. Bonds, let's look at a bit of bonds. This is interesting. We've been talking about bonds for a while, and our predictions are fairly accurate for the month. So we did predict that this can go up into there or potentially take out this low. It's actually going to do that here, it's kept lower, I think. Here, predicted potentially going to go into there, wick middle of there, or take this low before going out. We don't think it's going to reach there though. And this we predicted not going to reach there, but into this, fill it, and then continue higher. With those going into there and then continuing higher, it all makes this reaching the pinnacle and then continuing lower. It completely makes sense. Yeah, we just need to start seeing that movement higher from bonds for us to completely validate dollar moving lower, because at this moment in time, if price does decide to take this and then close above here, it may look to use as an inverted fair value gap to take this out again, but yeah, depends really what it wants to do. But for now, it's looking good in terms of its gap lower. What we would want to see now is price looking to come up and fill that gap before continuing higher. I guess it is priming it for Monday. Get an early Monday entry, and then see what it does, what it would do for the rest of the week moving forward. Potentially going to see these hit and these hit. But yeah, that's enough for today. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. If you want more of this, keep subscribed, or make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and turn on notifications so you're up to date with whenever I go live. And yeah,